well? And what role do they expect to see them? So I'm just going to hand over straight to Valentine. As usual, for interactive presentation, please feel free to contribute, just to introduce yourself before you do.
Thank you. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is the person that I do for my last part of my presentation, and also see why e-business in Nigeria is the way it is, in a way. Because I can see many banks, you know, and then telcos and all that. Well, my name is Valentine B. I'm with eTranzact International PLC. I've been asked to just share with you, I had an session. We will take about 10 minutes or so, just share with you some of the things that we do, or what the way I see what I see probably in Africa. And then we can spend some time to ask, basically on various issues. When I look at the cases here, they're not new, and almost everybody that I can see are all IT savvy guys and ladies. So I'll go straight into my presentation. I'm going to give me the lecture on how to do this stuff. Okay. Yeah. I'm basically going to just go through this fairly quickly, and then we're going to individually interact. I'm going to look at the e-business reason. What is e-business? I'm sure we all know what is e-business, but I really know so much about what is e-business. Then that the category of why e-business, appeals e-business are locally important, what we see at the future pathway for e-business. Well, there's a thing I come up with definition of e-business that is the time used because business run on the internet or utilizing internet technologies. And I think basically to use it to maximize profit, improve productivity, and also the business of the business. In most cases, people have looked at it as just being the use of computers. But if we go a little bit into the evolution of business or the introduction of e-business into the world, it has actually been the key thing is using the internet technology basically. How you can use those kind of technology for your business and actually to improve your productivity and also to increase flexibility in your organization. There's generally time to describe any form of electronic business that is to say that utilize a computer. That is the case, however, in most countries, business like I talked about, such as using the internet technology exclusively. So if we are talking about the internet, for example, we know why the internet and why was it created. In 1969, we know about the story about the ARPANET. ARPANET was a communication project initiated by the U.S. Department of Defense, and they started to be used to share secure data among the various suppliers. There was one intention that when one of the network is attacked or broken, it does not take the whole network. Now, mind you, this is in the peak of the Cold War, and there's a need for them to create, indeed, a platform that can provide secure communication between them and their suppliers and all that. And like I said, that if one is attacked, every other one can still remain functional. And that's why today, if you look at the internet, and you can see that it has actually been worked that way, the internet, that even if Yahoo or Google or whoever is crushed, doesn't mean that the internet goes down. The internet is still a platform that is yet, even with all the hackers in this world, and on the level. So in a way, we see they've actually achieved their purpose. Remember in the 1980s, then it was called ARPANET. It was only in the 1980s that it team of deciders decided to say, how can we expand the use of the same protocol for ARPANET to create a wider spread? And then that was the, trying to use the, get a bit technical here, the transmission protocol, which now they call it IP, Internet Protocol. Now the Internet Protocol now provides a lot more functionalities and features that hitherto was not present. Which means that people can be able to use it to do more businesses, not just the communication part that initially was set up. And of course in 1989, which is what I want to use, because if you look at it, the World Wide Web is not internet. The World Wide Web is basically a subset of the internet. And the team of sales came up with how do we begin to create sites and provide a protocol that can actually link the information or the files in such a form that you can use a browser like the Netscape, the internet browsers and all that, to be able to browse that new platform. And that's why we now started having websites that become quite interactive and all that. The World Wide Web, that is how it came. So the thing is, as it progressed, it became now almost apparent that there's still a lot more that can be done with this particular protocol that is not here. Now, if you look at the genesis of it, it was just for a particular project that the U.S. Defense was doing, want to protect their information from getting to any time. And now it has become forced to the part that the wider business community can actually use it for, and then you can have different categories of areas that this has actually provided for the use. So you got a business to business in a company, different establishments, business to consumer, and different types of areas that you can use the platform, the e-business environment. Now, something that also is very important that we must also notice that e-business is not e-commerce. E-commerce is also a subset of e-business. Because e-commerce just talks about making and receiving payment, shopping, paying for goods and services on the web, and that's But basically, the thing is that e-business to enable, as you go into maybe some of the benefits, we're going to see, before we're not going to the African, what I'm going to just tell you something about Africa. But e-business basically to help you, one, improve your productivity, and two, increase the profit. All the categories of businesses you can actually do on using e-business. And I ask here, why e-business? Is it important? Do you really need it? Do we even need it in Africa? Or wherever it is that we operate? Of course we do. One. And then one of the key things that a few minutes ago I was discussing with doing about disability. There are many people today, of course it's questionable in Africa, but today across Europe and America, you see lots of kids. And I'm telling our kids right now in Nigeria, they're also becoming quite internet savvy. My 8-year-old daughter and my 3-year-old dad, they work on internet activities. Of course, I try to monitor what they're doing. But the fact is that it has become a tool that is necessary for everyone. So in terms of e-marketing, you can improve your standard product promotion and standard communication. Today, in all establishments, the banks, the telcos, most of your communication today is valid. Now, I have a paper that somebody told me in the show, said that the checklist of knowing whether you're doing e-business says, if you say yes to any of this, then you are doing e-business. That's actually a simplistic way of knowing whether e-business is running in Africa or not, or whether we're actually using it. Now, whether we're using effectively, but one of the questions checklists is, do you communicate with customers, clients, or suppliers via email? That's one. Do you send email to other businesses, to other products or services? Do you sell your products or services via your website? Do you use the web to find information such as prices, phone number, the use of product? Do you use the web for research such as the latest industry trends? Do you use your website to provide information about your products and services? Do you use your website as a means of managing the information in our business? Do you use the internet for online banking and paying your bills? Now the truth of the matter is that if your answer to any of this is yes, it actually means that you're doing business. So the fact that you don't use it to pay for services does not mean you're not doing business. And whether that's the extent, whether any of this little, that I'm just saying, makes you an e-business, it's different. But the fact is that today in our various establishment, this has almost become now. Emails, everybody using email. I don't know everybody in this room doesn't have an email, one or two or more. So basically you're doing that. And what has it done basically? It has reduced, of course, cost tremendously. Now, reduction of cost is not just the cost of what I just talked about here. If you look at the issues of using online meeting tools, voice over internet protocols, and shared workspaces, these are what basically e-business will offer. Now, I'm not trying to, because I know that I'm already selling to people who already, you're already in it. But I'm just saying, pointing it out that these are e-commerce, of course, will help to increase service. I remember a while ago, one of the airlines came to us and wanted to say, look, ITA and Co, they're trying to, go completely, paperless. Okay, and of course that's a lot of cost saving for them. So how do we really get on board? I'm going to share with us in the other slide that I have. But we noticed something, that indeed, in the first few months that they launched, there was a lot of traction to the site. There wasn't much sale, all right. But we could see that a lot of people were actually making booking on the site. And this is basically for example. They are making bookings on the side. So booking, they are not paying. Then when I came along, now okay, when I brought in the card payment, this was 2003. I don't have anything of e-transact. And now this is how they look, let's get our own card. And we noticed immediately that not only were the bookings increased, there was a tremendous request for making the online payment part work. Now, this was Nigeria in 2003, and we may think that obviously people we really have sophisticated users in this country, and it's increasing by the day. So we can say that happens. Now, of course, in the back office, I also have the same challenge in Lagos Port Corporation at the early stages when we started. The challenge there was that you pay for your water bill. You pay your water bill and then you drop your paper in the small bucket that they have there, and they have to come to collect it. Now, what has happened in those days is that even 2 months after, they still come up your water because they don't have that information. Now, they wait for the bank to either send the information or they collect it, around the decision. Now, when we started that in 2003, it was full STP. You make a payment right at the bank, and instantly the account is credited and uploaded right straight into the over the internet into their system and update their billing system. Mr. Coker, then the GM CEO was so overwhelmed that I remember then he now gathered all the banks and say, that most of the banks, if you remember, then gather all the banks and say, look, this is what we're going to start doing. Initially we started with 1 or 2 banks. And I called all the banks. They were, if you're going to collect our bills, this is what to do. And obviously, because we saw immediate benefit for him, then he was powerful and he can log onto the web and he can see the transactions that are coming. Of course, there were some issues and all that, all the stuff. And I'm just saying that it helps with the back office. because this will help me reach out to your customers a lot more faster. Now the e-Transact story basically started operating in 2003, and basically our plan to connect the various African banks using different, was set up as a multi-channel, multi-application platform. Initially what we started was to be a cashless transaction. We weren't planning about deploying cards or, basically like you can use your cell phone, you can still go to the internet, go to that card. Our philosophy then was that, and this is interesting, that's the fact, we kind of felt that ATM was actually going to introduce more cash into the system. Knowing that our people are always very, cash conscious. Now you're making the money even closer to them. So, they go, and if the typical Nigerian, not that I just really want to save and leave the money. Now, of course, there's issues that, well, now I know the money is there, I can leave a lot and just take only the part I want. But have you noticed that people go to ATM, they will take, they pay 20,000, 20,000, until they finish all the, limits they have for that day before they. So, the idea was to really promote more of a cashless transaction, so that I can transfer money to you today into any bank account in Nigeria, apart from Citibank and Standard Chartered around the platform here, and you hit your account every time. Some of you that are here also have, know how we use it, without changing cash. But of course, we know that because we have a huge informal sector. How do you see it? It is still a challenge. Yesterday, I had a group from the World Bank, visit us, and all the stories and all the things we're talking about. How do you really get to the world? It's a fight I don't think each that or just be alone fight. It's a serious issue. And in the next couple of weeks, we're running a pilot project with IFC and IMTN, for the online in Nigeria. And I think it's challenge. Today, another project with BFID with the farmers in Benue State and with BFID and Holland. The agro-allied group. So, and part of what we're selling, you're not just always giving them cash. Now, I'll give you a simple example. You see, if you look at Holland, sorry I'm digressing a little bit. If Holland is paying their customers, those farmers, bring products to them. And you know what it is? So they have 100 farmers. Most of them don't have bank accounts. So the only one that has bank account is the chief. Okay? So what is going to happen is that on the day of the payment, all the 100 farmers will follow the chief to Holland to get the check. They will, it's no story. And they will also go with him, all of them, to the bank. To cash the money, and they will now come and they share the same. So these are real life stories, and the truth of the matter is that we believe that what we're trying to introduce to them will also help reduce them trying to. Of course, we know that this is always a challenge, but an Igbo adage says that you don't begin to go to war because people die. You don't fail to go to war when you need to go to war because you think people die. This is a sure part that people die one day. Then, you know what I'm saying? So then, I remember even going to study insurance, about to study insurance, that everybody I told, this is a good idea, but, what about the power? What about the communication network? What about, I said, well, there is no power, let's go buy more. Maybe we have about 3 generators. And, say, the first time we started, we had to deploy our own communication network for all the banks. We put our own radio links to all the banks, that the 12 banks that started with us, or the 6 banks that started with us, and then even the 12 ones. But we have to start from somewhere. Today, our reach is Nigeria, United Kingdom, Zimbabwe, South Africa, Ghana, Cote United Kingdom is basically the first war, so to say. What they mean by first war, I don't know. But, yeah. So, their case is a little bit different. in Nigeria, so when I talk about maybe locally and regionally play, for Ethan, that or our role in those areas concerning business, I'll be sharing this kind of the African continent. But these are the countries that are in, and our plan is to move gradually to the rest of Africa. So we're covering, for example, good. Well, last institution is moving on West Africa, so this thing must have moved. So, and for South Africa is where we're going there. But what are we trying to do there? The thing I'm looking at locally is we are growing regionally. So we're in Ghana, we're in Cote d'Ivoire, we're in I'm trying to move into Sierra Leone. Even though Sierra Leone is a very small economy, I'm not sure yet whether we're better. At least those three entities are working. And the beauty of it, as you see in the other slide, is that these countries can now actually interoperate. I can use my e-transit card in Nigeria. I can take it, the one given to me by any of the banks in Nigeria. I can take it to Ghana, and I can use it in the ATM in Ghana, and I can use it on the shops that we have on the platform in e-transit. And they give me my account here in Nigeria and give me CD or pay by CD in real time. So, but our plan also now we're in South Africa, Zimbabwe in particular, and South Africa went live last month. And the whole idea is for us to network Africa, that's East Africa. Obviously, citizens are moved, so it's not very clean. But the plan is to network these guys. Because it is a shame that I have to travel today to South Africa. I first of all go to the bank, and I'll change my naira to dollars. And I get into South Africa, and I change it back from dollar to rand. Who is losing? Who is gaining? By God's grace, I'm supposed to be addressing a section in the AU on this issue because we are the one losing. The continent is losing money. The gain is not going back to Europe and America. So, but why can't I just transact directly and the settlement happens? So that's what we're trying to do. So the West and the Southern Africa, the SADC region, we're covering. And we're going to start with the East and the North Africa. North Africa is a little bit of the north to crack, but we think to do that. And of course, after doing that, you can have a straight gateway to the rest of the world. That's our vision, that's what we're trying to do. The role we play at Eastern basically is that we have provided different channels for different kinds of payment for all the banks on our platform. And both for internet, every single transaction in each other is integrated. Like I said, we came into this play, the ATM play, the card play, quite late, but that wasn't. So we had to go that route because that is what the market was doing. But of course, before we get even, computer was already far ahead in terms of card issuance and all that. But we have provided most of this for most of the banks, and some of the banks that are here use one or two of the products in their own establishment and for their customers. Then if you look at some of the roles that we have played, talking about e-business on locally, like we were building seamless payment plans for particular business models. I've shared the story about Labor Workers Corporation, aero contractors. Now almost today, all the airlines in Nigeria, we just signed a contract with Amanios that enables all the airlines in Nigeria, global airlines, to accept e-transaction as their payment method. Also provided provision of e-business start pass for different organizations. And I'm going to touch on them when there's a line. Regionally is what I just explained. Facilitating convenient and automatic e-business across borders, so you can use your card in different zones. Also, an interesting part is what we are providing also over the web. We are providing a platform for the MTOs globally, and even including some of the big ones that come to us on this. And what we're basically doing is providing a level playing field for all MTOs that can remit funds into Africa. Remittance into Africa every year is about $40 billion. Those interest-free banks that are here today from your World Bank study last year, just the the flow of remittance between Nigeria and across the West Coast is about $2 billion. That is different from the $40 billion that coming in from overseas. Now, it doesn't been recorded that remittances into Africa is now more than the current FDIs into Africa, that's foreign direct investment. So we now have more Africans in diaspora that remit more money into the economy than you get from the IMF and the rest of the world. So it means that it's an important corridor, even for the banking industry and everyone's taking it. So it's happening. And by the way, this is the one that's recorded. Because there are still about hundreds and hundreds of NPOs that still do not do transactions that are recorded. In the West African coast alone, where they put it with just one bank, in 1 month, the transaction between Nigeria and Ghana alone, I think 2 months, was over 2.8 billion. And they've not yet launched the product. So when the World Bank came up with their report that actually there is a $10 billion moving across Nigeria and Ghana in 1 year, it's something to notice. So for you guys in the past, make sure you see me, because I will. All right. Our role goes in the industries have taken the lead in e-business in this country, and not only in this country, and in most parts of Africa, like Ghana, Cote d'Ivoire, Southern Africa, in the financial institutions. They've actually taken the lead, and rightly so. I mean, if you remember the days of the tally system, where you're going to, if you are going to work, first of all, you go and drop your check and collect the tally and wait maybe before the close of work that day. Go back, look at the money. Those days are gone. And thank God for technology. And now a lot of banks are deploying internet facilities and internet technology. What it means that it has also improved customer satisfaction. Then I don't need to go to the bank, to be able to have access to those things. Which has actually improved, I believe, improve productivity and also increase their profitability one or the other. Now, bank charges you now to be able to use your ATM and all that. Before you go and pay, you stand in the queue, you come in the queue on the bank for 1 hour, true? But today it's gone. 2002 or thereabout, we set up the stock exchange, the Nigerian e-business platform, for the Nigerian stock exchange e-business platform, so that you can actually monitor your transactions over the web. So if you have an account with CSCS, you can actually go online and it's actually our product. I can log on there and can view your transaction. Why was that? We had issues whereby stockbrokers were selling without authorization. And they are fast, they think. So they have a portfolio. They have 10 million. They are travel to London or wherever you go, they'll take your money, they will trade with your accounts and just make sure before you come back, you have back your money. No problem. They didn't see your money. But now e-business has helped them to be able, even for the users, to be able to log on and see what is happening, all transactions that you're doing now. And that is, right happening today in and we're trying to move this across various stock exchanges in the countries that we currently operate. One thing they've said is that even in the stock exchanges, most of them still are not really fully automated, because the part of the matter is that without proper automation in your own normal e-business becomes quite a lot more difficult. Because like I said, automation is quite different from e-business. You can automate your business processes and all that. E-business is trying to improve that automation. And if you don't have So most of them are not automated, so they cannot really enjoy the benefits that e-business can offer them. So really, that's a step for you can actually get to doing true e-business. The government agencies, a couple of years back, a couple of banks, had a meeting with immigration and of course the Solid Immigration Forum. And what that did was, for the first time, you can go on the internet and make all bookings about applying for your passport and all that, and pay online, and then go over and collect your. These are all forms of business, and Influencer was one of the main initiators of this. And what we have done indeed, Nigeria is more like our community, and we're also trying to deploy most of the things, and since we have learned, we made quite a lot, huge mistakes in Nigeria. Of course, we're trying to make sure that we don't make those mistakes in other countries that we operate. And the idea is to move some of the things we have learned into other African countries where we operate. The airline industry, the work looking at payment, like I say, almost all the airlines today in Nigeria, you can use your Influencer platform, especially since you're working with our Mali and all that. This basically will help everybody. If you look at this, the initial, even for the business, for the individual or the customers that are in using those companies. On the school portals, many of the bands that are here also have been part of what we do with. We have currently over 58 universities on the Influencer platform, collecting their school fees, paying whatever that the student will do in school. Now, this has greatly removed some of the challenges that the schools have. Most of the challenges they have is that payments are made, they have nowhere to, they don't understand how to inkling about how to reconcile who is paying or for what and all that is huge. Thanks to e-business, because it's not just about payment, but also brought in the administration, registration, and the rest of them. We started this with Nigerian University, and then I moved into almost most of the universities. And some of them are still coming on. And of course, corporate pay, well, is part of the thing we're doing with government. So what I'm trying to say that if we look at the whole strata of the economy, and we can see that e-business is playing a role both in the government sector and the private, and even the non-profit organizations. And all of them are trying to do that because of the inherent benefits that e-business poses. What do we see happening? We're saying that in the future we're going to see a widespread and integration of mobile technologies into e-business. We think that this is going to be, most of us in IT would call it a killer app, but we're going to see a lot of this happen in the near future. And it's already happening. I'll give you an instance, for example. We're also one of the airlines now that want us to make hard for them to start making their booking, food booking on the mobile. Okay? So they can do all their booking. Why? You are all busy executives, and then you leave your office, before you send them out and just call a meeting that needs to be in Abuja by 3 p.m. And what the time they're looking at? The time they just got the information is 12 noon. So the idea is that why don't I just rally right on my phone, make my booking, get my PNR, walk straight to the because it's possible maybe you're in a meeting somewhere and you cannot go on the internet. So you're going to see this happen. And why would this be so? If you look at what is happening in Nigeria about 7 years ago or 8 years ago, we had just what? 50,000 what? Hello, not 9 months. You have to always find out the position where it works. 50,000. And then in less than 8 years, and that 50,000 is for almost how many years? 1960. And then in less than 8 years, we now have close to My brother.
70 million.
Yeah?
70 million.
This is Nigeria. I'm carrying 2 phones now. So if we do the statistics, maybe about 50, 55 million. Yeah? More than that. That's just thing. We can see. So whether I like it or not, it is moving. In the world today, the opportunity just for the mobile devices is incredible. Not just in my space as payment, but also even the e-business as a whole. There are 4 billion cell phone users across the world, and they are growing by the day. MTN today, I used to give selling SIM cards. Exactly. So, whether I like it or not, the trend is going to continue to go up. Well, I said about 60 million mobile phones in Nigeria, so you can don't public tell us exactly what it is. The distinction of one, low entry threshold. Because what we have are infrastructure challenges. For e-business to really take off seriously in Africa, then the adoption and internet access must indeed be something to work with. The world knows that requires a huge amount of capital to really make things happen in everywhere. We don't really truly today have a true picture. Maybe Doni may have it, a true picture of true internet users in Nigeria or across Africa. The challenges are numerous, but you can see with the advent of the cell phone, mobile phones in Africa, is one of the fastest growing industries in Africa. I think it's the number 1, in Africa. And today you can say that both the rich and the poor have it. During the time of North 9 North, your driver doesn't have a DSL. Even some of your managers in the office cannot afford. I remember my first mobile phone that I bought was modeling, and I bought it for 153,000. Each time I remember, I just do something my mother. Bought for 150 something thousand naira. One phone that can only work in Lagos. Abby, what I'm saying. Some of you, use that. That was 73. I remember. Now today, the mechanic down the road can walk to a shop and buy a cell phone. So what am I saying? I'm saying that because of the low entry threshold, anytime, anywhere, convenience. It behooves us to be to think, how do we integrate these devices into true e-business today? Now, whether we like it or not, is already happening. Your BlackBerry is part of the e-business platform. True. In all of you, the same you here, and see almost 50% of all the people here is kind of one BlackBerry phone with that. So, and that is part of the business. So we're going to see a lot more integration happen, on the mobile platform, especially in Africa. Because one, it's easier as a low entry threshold, anytime in your company, and it can be used for multiple, both financial and banking services. And not only just financial and banking, but other kinds of services that you can use. I just thought about an airline trying to use it now for booking and all that. Why? So they can provide a lot more convenience for their customers. They can bring more satisfaction. So you can just be on the road in the morning, you go to the MM2 in the morning to buy tickets. You see the queue. So I'm driving to the airport, I can just make the booking on my phone, get my PNR, do the payment all in real time, get out there, just go straight to the counter and get my boarding pass. So you're going to see that. I think use it to access financial banking, account balance and transaction, back end and other services, pay bills, salary, school fees, cost transfer. So the opportunity is there. And the thing is that because e-business is no longer new. It is where it is today. The only thing is to say, what are the innovative means that I can also apply, to make it work for me. That is what I mean for my organization better than today. And I think that the mobile thing is going to be Thank you. So if there are questions, like I say, I never claim to be the one with the whole knowledge. I'm sure that we can actually interact here. These are questions, inputs, observations, can we take that? Yes.
Thank you very much for your presentation. It was spot on. I was very happy that you brought the issue of interoperability to the fore. Individually, I think the organization, especially in the private sector, more importantly in the financial services industry, we've done very well in terms of doing this. But we would like to see more cooperation among all the major players. It remains a frustrating phenomenon trying to interoperate with other organizations. When you talk about funds transfer across banks, I was taken aback because really it remains a major challenge for us. We really haven't been able to operate seamlessly across various networks. Some of us would like to see the kind of collaboration that is happening in the telecoms industry or the airline industry, play out in this business as well. We want to see insurers collaborating with an InterSwitch, for example. Apart from news today, I really don't see handshake happening across the various operators. So when are we going to begin to see some of this collaboration? Because that's the only way we can take e-business in this frontier. Today, we have so much of silo mentality. Until we break away from this, some of these things will not happen. So when are we going to begin to see cooperation here?
No, I think that what you say is important. I think from e-Transact ourselves, today on our platform you can use any card issued by the bank, whether it's e-Transact or InterSwitch. Now, so it just shows me that you're not one of my customers, even though your bank is my customer. Because if you're using the e-Transact mobile platform, you find out that you can transfer money in real time into any bank account. Anybody used it here before? Okay. You can actually transfer money. Where's my phone? And you can do real transactions. It could be on your BlackBerry, whatever it is. If I know this was going to come up, maybe I'll have got one of my guys to come here and make sure that it loads you from your phone. It's part of the payment and selling for me. But this is banking. So if I go to the cost transfer, and I say turn the bank account, give me all the time. I just put the bank account number. And I can transfer it.
That's the challenge. This is your product, isn't it? This is your
no. See this
is your application.
No. What? This is like FMB banks in Africa. You see that? If you look, you have Sky Mobile, right? Yes, it was that.
Sky Mobile is
InterSwitch. Okay. Now then you bought it. Now, if you look at e-Transact, you look at iMobile, which is e-Transact, which is Intercontinental, First Mobile, which is for First Mass, which is e-Transact. If you look at the FCMB Mobile, these are platforms. So if you see, even though it's branded differently, because it's supposed to be your own, you're supposed to market to your own. So I'm saying that I agree with you that full interoperability is not there. But what we have done on our own part is that we can allow you on the e-Transact mobile to attach your own debit card that's issued by your bank. Even though it is a product developed by e-Transact, you can actually tie your own debit card into it. Now, but I agree that there's a lot more work to be done. And I think that with what has been happening with, the news coming on board, even though we all know we're still not sure of the direction. It's clear what they want to do. The mandate is clear, and I'm sure that if it's put together, it will be to the benefit of everyone. So I can say that is in the works. So there's already a plan going forward to make that work. So let's give ourselves another 6 months, 1 year. We should be able to see something really fundamental in this area, full interoperability. And I dare say that you're right that if E-Transit had collaborated, if the two of us have collaborated, the industry that E-Transit collaborated from the beginning, maybe there wouldn't have been a need, but because we did it. So, but like I said, all made mistakes. So I try to make sure the mistakes are. So like when I'm going to Ghana or in South Africa today, I'm talking to SASWITCH. I'm not talking to, so how do you've got this wonderful product, I've got this thing, and I can also link you to Nigeria and to West Africa. So where do we handshake? So I'm saying that there's a need, we made mistakes, both ways. But the idea is to make sure we correct them. I think that's the yes.
Yeah. Well done. Can you just tell us how far from
I think already most have received your letter. I think we are ready. The E-Transit Genesis card, the EMV that is set, is ready. And of course, as E-Transit always, I told a while ago that you see in Nigeria, we have this mentality that it has to be white to be right. Do you call it colonial mentality? Because our people always think that it has to be from America. It has to be from one white person. As we are in Transit, we are doing our own application, our own daily application. So don't fall into the trap of what our colleagues in are running. Because for me, I think it's one way some of these guys want to muscle into the market. And I don't think it's really. So for us, we were looking. The program is written by somebody with a head, and I also have a head on my head. So do your thing and make sure that it follow the standard and it work. And standard to pay for standard. So it's ready. And letters have gone to all our banks, to place their orders. And a couple of them already have placed orders. Yes, sir.
Thank you. I must first of all commend your effort so far.
Thank you.
He is having.
Please, I will see your name and then our organization. I know that my friend is from Sky, he's from Team Bank, so I don't know if you're free. Please.
I'm going through
Yeah.
Right. I remember way back in the early days of GSM in Econet.
Yes.
That we did a lot of experiments together.
Yes.
In those times, and it's really interesting that the Technology have moved so fast and you can do a lot with E-Transit and also you have persistence. The area I just want to say something on is on the area of card compromise. Probably time has come we also begin to look in that direction. Card compromise, security control issues, because just like you mentioned, everything that comes to Nigeria moves at a very fast rate. Before now there was no ATM, but we have got the ATM now, and the rate at which compromise is occurring on that area is becoming alarming. It's getting very uncomfortable.
I agree. Completely. In November 28th last year, we launched something. I don't know how many of you remember what we call ESA, E-Transit Support Certification, which we have patented globally. And we're marketing to almost every bank, Barclays, HSBC, Standard Bank, and the rest of them. A few banks are just deploying it now in Nigeria. I'm looking for my, and what is it? What is the major challenge now? Why didn't we come out with, in fact, we are forced to come out with EMV. or chip-based car? Because the issue is that doesn't solve your problem. What is the challenge? Is the challenge cheap or thin disclosure? Somebody get it to know your thing. Now, EMV or no EMV, or cheap or no cheap. If I get your car and I know your pin, I'll take money from your account. Okay. Now, EMV or no EMV, if I use your car, I was in Lagos, here in my office, somebody was using my Barclays card, cheap card in Malaysia. Me, key payment group. You know, somebody used it, I wouldn't protect myself. You know, so what I'm saying is this, is that, so we looked at it and said, look, we need to devise a different means. On the e-Transact mobile, if anybody got it on his phone, you see what I call ESA for ATM. What does it mean? What it does is that for every transaction I want to do, I'll generate the PIN for that amount. So what it means is my PIN is no longer static. It's valid for only that one transaction, and I cannot use that PIN anymore. You understand? Now, so which means if today you take my card basically, and you collude with anyone to get my PIN that the bank has issued me, and I've changed that PIN, you still cannot transact it, you still cannot use my card. You need to physically get my phone also, and also have my memory word to be able to do that. Because from here, basically, I just go to ESA for, I know you can't see it, it's a little bit tiny. ESA for ATM, I enter the amount I want to cash from the ATM, 20,000. Then I select the card. So on this one phone, I can have all the cards. Maybe I have account in 10 banks. I can have it in 10 banks. Please, where's my driver? Chidi. I want to bring my bag. Can I have my bag? You know, and I can immediately generate another 4-digit PIN for that amount only. So if I give you the PIN, and that PIN is for you to collect only 16,000, and you think you're smart and you want to collect 20,000, it cannot work. It can only work for the amount it is generated. It's a one-time PIN and you cannot use it anymore. Now, that to me resolves the issue of, to a large extent, resolve the issues in about. So the same thing on the web. Today, if somebody gets your card and just the number and gets your PIN, they can use it. But with ESA code on your phone, someone's going to ask me, okay, what if you lose your phone? No sweat. If I lose my phone, you simply don't know my PIN for this phone. And also you need to get my card, you know, and get the original PIN that I have on the, you know. So the whole idea is that you see know only your PIN. That is your normal PIN that the bank has given you and your card. Which each time you want to generate it, you enter it here, it will not generate for you a new PIN for that transaction. And this we also about to also we are going to relaunch with the ESA, because even our own EMV card will also incorporate that. So it's not just chip and PIN, it's chip and PIN plus ESA to give you double security. Yeah. So it is really a challenge. People mentioning the issue of ATM fraud. It is incredible. And the truth of the matter is it is not a switch problem, it's actually an industry problem, because if we are not careful, if the people decide, no, we can't go, you know, all of us in that industry will be affected. So it's not that if this switch is affecting more or that, no, we need to find a way to really get involved, control it, manage it effectively. You know, I know we can't do like Americans. Americans have decided not to deploy chip and PIN simply because they are looking at fraud as a cost. So it's a cost of doing business. So they put it into their cost. Europeans don't have that kind of money. They say, well, I'm sure America will have to start changing their mind, but they don't have money anymore. Europeans don't have it, so they say, well, let's pass the ball to the customer. I'll give you a PIN. If you lose it, that's your business. You know, because basically what they did is just pass the ball to the customer. Right. Yes, sorry.
Yeah, that's my question. What about security?
Security, yeah. And like security for us is main. If you look at our mission statement, we to provide a secure, convenient, and affordable means to make active payments. Security for us is number one. And if our users can actually pick it and have some of these things on their system, the fact of the matter is that once they bring some other complexities, and now my phone has to generate. But see, the issue is you can't eat your cake and have it. We are looking at security. There are certain things to give, to give away. I remember that a lady, one of the banks, said, "Well, this is good, but this is me always have to generate the pin. I just enable my card for ESA. Yeah? I will use it, but when I want to use it, since I know this is the only one, I will disable it. All right." And use my normal pin. When I finish using it, I set it again for ESA. Well, it's a way you can secure, but that, so there's always some things to to trade off. Yes.
Morning, my name is Baya Akiru from Hasbro Green Consulting.
From
Hasbro Green Consulting. Obviously, you saw the good side of the e-business, we've one of the risk areas. Are there any technology risk areas, especially for these environments, that you have considered, or rather that the beneficiaries or the users should start considering, not as the end user, but as the platform operators like the banks, the telcos, and so on, in terms of, integration into their back office, connectivity to other platforms and so on, and different technology risks now?
No, of course there are. I mean, if you look at some of the challenges that the world are faced, even on e-business, whereby your whole site is closed by people, and you are directed, and then some people fall prey to certain emails or certain scam mails that come to them telling them to do this, and they go ahead and do that. It can only be educate. Because the fact that someone that clone your site, and just one little thing it just changed, and your site is, and people start going there to pass the information. Like the security, for me, is not a static issue. It's something that has to be dynamic. We need to always think through some of our, let's do the integration. Okay, how is it done? Is there somebody monitoring it? Is there somebody looking at it? Okay, are we really, is that the best thing to do? So there's still a lot more work to be done. But I still think that the benefit outweighs the current risk that we face today. Because the moment that a clone website is recognized, it's shut down everything. I think that's really where I will comment in that area. Security is an issue that existed, is still there. Some of the things we've seen, for other in the payment industry, has always been this issue of ATM fraud, and also people actually taking your card information. Like we're doing a lot of things for the schools, universities. We're seeing situations whereby, sometimes due to lack of knowledge, we've seen a student take his card to a cyber cafe, information and give itself. It doesn't know. Now, a law school student, for that matter, doesn't know how to use the computer. And they give the information to the cyber cafe operator to help them to log on to law school and do all their whatever it is. And they did. As soon as the man stepped out, they changed the card and they used to buy all the airtime in this world. That they did. So we've seen, I mean, they decided to buy airtime and to do different kinds of. We've seen situations where people will take your card, they want your card information, and they will, because they know there are some accounts that the banks have that they don't do KYC on, and they will transfer money. They just go open those accounts, real accounts with banks. But sometimes when you look at the pictures, when they give you the picture of the guy, it's never straight. And they open those accounts because it's one way the bank is trying to get you on bank into the banking system, the plan. So and I think now, they're doing some KYC now on those accounts. But those are accounts that don't have KYC. So they get your card from the student. And they will transfer money, all the money, the payment, the fees, and that Guy's account, and they transfer it into this phony in account, and they go into the bank, collect all the money, and close the account. But I know that the bank have been trapped with a couple of them these days. I remember that a couple of them was caught by some of the bank, and so those. So I think education is important. So when we begin to give out, don't disclose your, details. Yeah.
Well, what I'm actually looking for are the technology risk, and I'll give you an example.
Yeah.
I've heard people go to ATMs and try to withdraw money and they get double the amount or don't get the money at all, and they can't receive debited. Those are technology risks that I'm looking at. Fraud issues will always be there, and I'm sure from what you guys are doing, you're doing a great job to mitigate that. But in terms of interconnectivity, interoperability between your application and the back office application.
They might have like double.
Yeah, double transaction, nil transaction that are being charged. And that's just one of many technologies that are happening.
No, I agree with you. There could be glitches, and there could be glitches. Now we've seen situations also whereby, especially when we're doing the corporate payment, salary payment. That has made me so much that you send a transaction to an application in the bank. So I mean, it's really, whereby the bank themselves need to look at some of these issues, and we need to look at our issues. Whereby a transaction goes through, it tells you successful, meanwhile it is not actually impacted on the account. Or it tells you unsuccessful. That is the information you receive from the host, meanwhile the money has gone. And that's why, for example, in almost every payment company, you have a monitoring team. You have a team that can constantly look at it. But the way you do that, I remember once in the UK, for example, I think it's Lloyd Bank. I don't even remember, about a couple of months ago, the ATM was busy turning out money. So it comes back to the Igbo adage that says, where they go, you don't need to go to war when there is war, because you think people die, they don't go to war. It has a need for all we have the ability to do is to find ways to mitigate those things and limit it as much as possible. But those are really important contributions, and the industry must do that.